welcome to the All Loon podcast. Thank you so much for coming on with us. It is really lovely to finally meet you. Today, I would love to learn a little bit about your business, about what it's like from your side, being a female founder, running a new business, and running an established business, and going through all the stages. So it'd be great to kind of introduce yourself, tell us a bit about what you do, why you do it, and we'll dive straight in.
So I am Hannah. I am founder of Your Brand Lab, and I also run your content lab, and your social lab is currently incoming as well. So I have been in sales and marketing for as many years as I can count.
I get that.
And I did the whole corporate thing. I climbed the ladder and I got to the top and I didn't like it. I mean, I could have gone further if I'd moved into bigger companies, but I got to head of marketing. That was the highest I could go in the business I was in. And it just wasn't for me. I've been working as a freelance on the side of that because I loved working with small businesses and smaller businesses, micro businesses, helping them with their mainly digital marketing and some other elements of like branding and strategy as well. And I started doing that because I have a lot of friends that are self-employed that had very limited understanding of what they needed, why they needed it, and had gone to other people that had sort of, I'd say, possibly not given them good value for money over the longer term. And obviously, I could see that happening to my friends. So obviously, I knew that that's happening to other businesses as well. So I wanted to create something that would support those people that go into business. And I think that I found a lot of people go into business because they are good at a service or they've got a good product and they don't necessarily have a great understanding of what the other functions are around
Yeah.
selling that service or product. And it's a massive learning curve. So your brand lab is sort of founded as the elements you need to be able to build and grow your brand and your business and to help people align their brand with their marketing.
I love that. So I think that, I mean, you touched on so much there. How long have you been sort of going as the Brand Lab? Is it a fairly new business or are you guys, sorry,
Last week.
last week? Oh my goodness. I saw you were doing a whole rebrand. I didn't realize it was that new.
Yeah. So we did our launch party last week. And that coincided with the studio launch as well. So we've got a content studio space for businesses to come in and photographers to come in and
Wow.
get their own content in a really relaxed, informal way where they can really create and make a space that's their own. Because content creation, well, that's a beast in itself that people don't think about when they're starting a business until it's like the end of the day and you're like, oh, I've not posted or something. So
Guilty.
we all do it. I do it. So yeah, it was last week, but it's been in the works for a few months. When I sort of left corporate last year, I was like, right, I need a business name, I need a business because I'm going to do this full time. And it was not done in the way that it should be done in terms
Okay.
of like the branding and the messaging. It was quite sort of quickly put together and it didn't allow for growth. So
Yeah.
I really sort of sat back for the last few months, really thinking about what I wanted to do, who I was looking at targeting with my services,
Yeah.
and really built the brand from there up.
I do think that happens a lot of time. I mean, Orloon was very much the same when I started it, and I was kind of, well, there you go, that'll do. There was no thought into branding or anything else, so I had to come back and go, right, now let's actually start again and work through it. I think that's so common for people that get really excited about a brand.
Yeah, you do. Obviously I speak to business owners all the time, and they've gone out and they've got a logo, or they've done their logo themselves, and there's so much more to branding your business
Yes.
than just your logo, your color palette, and the fonts that you're using. So it's really about like understanding that you wouldn't like stick windows on a plot of land instead of putting your foundations down first. Like
I like that.
it's a bit like that. So I yeah really love doing that.
So you've said obviously you've got a content studio as well. We've seen those popping up all over the place, and we're actually going to one next month. How does that work? Do you do sessions in there yourself, or is that a completely separate entity?
So it's a subsidiary company
Okay.
for the Brand Lab. However, it's completely separate in the sense that and like you can get on there. You don't need to have me in there as your photographer or your content creator. It is separate in the sense that it's studio hire. We do have like options to add on content creation if you so wish, but yeah, it's not.
And whereabouts are you based for that studio?
So I'm based in Grantham in Lincolnshire, so it's
Oh, you're not far.
but we don't really have any around here. So there's some in the bigger cities. I know of like one or two around Nottingham Way. There's one in Leicester, and then like Derby as well. So they're
Yeah.
quite a way away from this area, and there's so many businesses in this area. There's more and more businesses. So
100%. We've had to travel. I'm actually from Lincolnshire. My family's from Grantham, but we've had to travel to Leeds for ours because if only I'd known, I would have come to you. We'll have to book another one and we'll come over.
so I've actually got another space that I use for networking as well. I mix the two together.
Nice. I do think that's a lot about businesses these days, that you have to build that community. We've seen all the, Refire doing it really well at the minute, and we've seen those big brands kind of start the movement, but I do 100% think you can't just do one thing anymore. It's an experience.
No, it does need to be an experience, and that's why I added your social lab in as well.
Yeah.
And if that's not, like, people think it's social media management, but it's not. It's the social side of being a business owner.
Which is the hardest bit.
Yeah, you have to build a network. Like, they're one of your greatest assets as a business owner.
100%. It's getting into rooms that you can't get into because other people are mentioning you in those rooms anyway. So you don't need to be there. I think that is worth so much more than social media investment, personally.
Yeah, I would say over time it can be.
Yeah.
And I think social media is at least, it's a lot easier to put yourself in front of a person in a room, obviously if you're comfortable with that, and have a conversation with them, and they'll remember you a lot quicker.
Yes.
I've made some great friends through networking.
Yeah, I have. And I think people really don't. I think networking has this very kind of stuffy conference room ideology that we are trying to break away from. That, it's what I'm building a business on, really. But, it just doesn't have to be like that anymore. There's so many businesses. There's a local cafe called Liberties in Newark, and they do like a paint and sip where it's just a coffee shop. You go have a really lovely coffee. She does amazing matches, and they do like painting mugs and things like that. And it's all those tiny different extra bits that make it so much more important. So I want to touch on, you say, some of your friends were saying that they're not getting good value for money, which as an email marketer, which is where I've come from, I can understand that. Sounds like we're very aligned, but what is it that you do different that kind of provides that value?
So I like to do the sort of the double for you stuff, as I said, because I'm an agency owner. I like to do stuff, but I like to find that balance where they get an understanding of why, and what it is, and what they're getting from it, and why, and how that's going to help them achieve their goals.
Yeah. Okay. And when you're working with a business, is there sort of one thing that when you first enter, say you sign contracts day one, where is it that you start? And that's your one kind of non-negotiable that someone needs to consider?
The strategy, the reasoning behind doing something. And I think that's what helps with the value for money, because a lot of business owners will say, I need this, or I need to get this, because they can see other people doing it and they think that they might need to do that as well. And that it's the understanding. There's quite a lot of business owners that I've spoken to that have come to me to quote them for like getting some content creation or something. And it's like, well,
for what?
For what?
I think, especially with the rise of
your goals.
No, I think with the rise, you're absolutely right, of ChatGPT, so many people are using that for strategy. And I saw a really interesting post saying, ChatGPT cannot do your strategy. It can help you and give you guidance and advice, but it actually cannot do that. And I think it's really hard, actually, and I'd be interested to kind of hear your thoughts on how you get to your why. I think service-based businesses are typically a little bit easier, but for product-based businesses, I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like it's a little bit harder. But how you actually get from, I'd like to start this business because I think I've got a good idea, how you translate that into a why that can become your business passion and vision and mission. I think that's a really hard jump. It took me about 6 months to get mine. And like, if a business is starting and they don't know how to get there, what would kind of your advice be for them? How do you find that?
I think, especially with like the one-man bands, and I'm mostly I deal with service-led provider, like businesses as well. So I think it's something that is like sort of really rooted into your core of why you're getting out of bed, and you're risking a lot to do this, because there is a lot of risk involved in setting up a business and putting yourself out there, and you need to find that at your core why you're doing that. And then you build your why from there.
That makes sense.
especially from a service level perspective, because what is getting you out of bed every morning to go and do that, and all the stress of running a business, because it's so stressful regardless. Like, and why you're putting yourself through that. I think it takes a special kind of person to be running a business and setting up a business.
I agree.
You've got to have a lot of grit about you. So, like, what's giving you that motivation, and then you can make your marketing so much easier from there.
I really like that. I think it's so hard, I'm from sort of the research when I first started. I will admit I'm not a social media person. I am learning on the job, very much so. But I was like, right, content pillars. Okay, I've heard that before. That's education, information, sales, isn't it? Right, I'll start there. And actually, kind of the more I'm speaking to social media managers and brand experts, I'm like, no, that is so generic. That is not how it works. But I think, God, how many other business owners are falling into this trap of, well, that's it, we'll have the same, and I will post those 3 every week, and that will produce sales, and then going, oh, well, why am I not getting any sales?
Not everybody needs education.
No. So
not everybody needs information.
no.
It's a pillar. It really depends on who your business is, who your brand is,
Yeah.
and what your goals are to put that together.
100%. I think, like I say, there's so much. We see, a lot of big brands doing the founders content, and, obviously I do a lot of founders content, the majority of my page is, but it's really hard when you don't understand the bit behind that of, like, say, that does all actual feed into a strategy. And I think if you were to have, say, for example, I would say, look, you've got one day to take over my whole social media, what is kind of the things that you would be looking at? Or for a small business that came to you and said, I know this probably wouldn't happen, but, I can afford one day for you to do a whole day. Where is it that you would start?
I would go through the strategy
Yeah.
and understand your goals. And I think that's really cool, because I think if you can get that done with somebody and you can get that across and have that good understanding, the rest of it comes a lot easier.
Okay.
Because you understand where you're going to.
Yeah.
Because you've got your strategy in place, you've got your foundations there. You need to get from point A to point B. So that's how I would do it, because I think it's very easy to say, oh, we'll do this, this, and this. But why? And
Yeah.
it is finding that why. And a lot of people don't necessarily understand their strategy. They just know they've got posts. So they'll just post.
Do you know what? I'm happy to admit, I think that's probably me. I feel like
Postings do.
I lie to myself on this, and I say, I've got a strategy, I know where I'm headed. But if I was to really look at it, yeah, it's mostly, let's just do a batch load of content and get it scheduled and then bang it out each day. So I think it is interesting, and it would be interesting to take the time and, like, say, kind of build that out. And I feel like now after this call, that's the first thing I'm going to have to do. So in the kind of same vein, we hear a lot about, and there I kind of reference quite a lot. I listened to a podcast of the owners of Lux Collective saying that, they were posting sort of 5, 6, 7 times a day. Where's the balance between consistency and quality? Because I've heard consistency has been thrown around a lot, but just recently on social media, it's kind of on TikTok especially, I feel like other platforms are a bit different. I've heard get out as much as you can, so much content, just bang, bang, bang. Whereas now actually this quality argument is coming in, I think, to TikTok. Where is it that you stand on that?
So I always steer more towards quality.
Okay.
And consistency is, for me, I think it depends on the business owner.
Okay.
And I think it depends on whatever you can do on a consistent basis. And that's how I say it, because of who I work with, we've not got teams of people. If you're talking to a bigger brand that's got a social media team, not just one person in social media, but an actual team for
Whole
social
team.
media. Yeah, because you need a whole team. Every element of social media is a full-time job.
Yeah.
For most businesses that want to be churning out that level of content in a way that they can do it of high quality, that adds value to what they're doing and is working towards their strategy and their goals. If you can't do that, which most of us can't, I would focus more on quality. Is 3 times a day, 5 times a day. How are you expected to run your business? Deal with everything you've got to do in your day to day. Look at other forms of marketing, because social media marketing isn't the only form of marketing.
No.
Like email marketing background as well. That takes time.
Oh yeah.
And create 3 reels, 4 TikToks, and 7 stories a day. How
It's just not
is
doable.
how is one human going to do that sustainably? You
Yeah.
might have a really good day and be able to do that, but most days you're not because you're never at 100% every day.
No.
And so you have a life, like
Yeah.
have a life, like
I think this is the biggest thing that we miss out on, isn't it? And especially as startups, it's you're just trying to do everything. What is it in terms for you guys? You've mentioned that you kind of have a couple of different facets that you work under. Where is your area of speciality? Are you very much social based, or do you guys pull in the other avenues of marketing as well?
so we pull in other avenues. I actually do more website stuff
Oh, okay.
and more marketing strategy stuff as well.
Yeah, you can tell that's absolutely like where the passion is for you, which I
Yeah.
like. It is so important. I think the website is so often overlooked
It should show
with,
front as well. Like it
yeah,
shouldn't be.
especially with things like Shopify, and I think it's Squarespace that does a like an AI setup. So and it goes, oh yeah, it's all optimized and bang, you're up and running. I do feel like a lot of businesses just don't put the money to invest into that. So I think it's interesting. You don't hear of many businesses now. Everyone's social.
Yeah. First, and I think it should be because social is a really good way to be able to get your brand across. Especially, I love the whole movement of founder-led content. I do really like it.
Yeah, I do.
I think it does wonders for a brand, wonders, and you can see it in real time that it is doing really good things for all these different brands. So I do love it, but there's a balance with everything, isn't there? And
Yeah.
it's finding that balance.
So I'd love to hear, if you've had either you've been scrolling through TikTok or you've been at a networking event or taken on a new client, what's kind of the worst piece of advice someone else has given to someone that you've kind of heard and gone, what? No.
So I've actually had
You can pick a few. I'm here for the gossip.
you do, I know, and sometimes I'm like you just no.
Yeah.
I think it's more misleading. It's the more misleading advice that focuses on like virality or consistency that we've already spoken about. I think
Yeah.
any advice around those for me just it raises red flags, and not because some of it's not like advice that would help you do that. It's the fact that it's the FOMO for
Yeah.
business owners feeling like they're needing to reach this goal that is unattainable to most people.
Yeah.
But also, if they were to hit virality, how would it benefit their business?
Yeah.
And what's their why? Like we're all in business to do something we enjoy doing, but we need to make money to be able to continue living.
Yeah.
And do the things that we want to do. So if your focus is on virality and going viral, you're not focusing on your revenue. And also,
Yes.
I say it all the time, like for example, we've got small hairdressers in a little market town going globally viral. How's that going to benefit you?
No, that's so true.
Because it's a one-time thing most of the time. It doesn't continue. You'll have a massive surge of bookings of people that can get to you, but globally people aren't.
They're not traveling across the world for a hair salon.
For a hair salon. But also your customer service is going to slip. You're going to have huge wait times. You're not going to be able to maintain the level that you've been operating at. And for this short space in time, things might be really good, but you'll do more damage in the long term if you can't manage the fluctuation.
Yeah. I think, and I do think there's a shift now more towards like conversions, and like you say, I think especially the rise of kind of the micro influencers, which I love this. It's actually having a person who you may only get, I would say only 5,000 likes, but half of them converts. I know that's a crazy figure compared to having 2 million. I know that wouldn't that be amazing? 2 million and 1% converts. And I think that is kind of testament to that as well. Like you say, is going viral going to help? If someone in, Australia sees my video, that's great. And I hope, they feel inspired, but they can't come to an event. They're not going to travel all the way here for a coffee. So it's so hard. I think that's a really interesting one that we've all got in our heads that we need this viral takeoff because of all the big businesses doing it that we can't attain.
And if you're in a position that you're able to scale and you've got products or services that are globally available or anything like that, then Absolutely, if that's one of your goals, that's one of your goals. But I think they're pushing it out to other business owners where it would never be something that would be attainable.
Yeah. Yeah. You're just
I
making it
don't
more
like the
difficult.
advice that sits
No,
that
I
sits
think
in that.
there's a lot of social media managers coming through the system that are just good at social media and then start selling all these courses as well. So I think there's probably that crossover there.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started on digital marketing course.
How to make money in your sleep.
Yeah, I work 4 hours a day and I get £10,000 a month. Oh, I hate them
And
because
you can do it too.
they're just unrealistic for a lot of people. I feel like it's a new version of like an MLM.
I agree.
I'll probably get shot for saying that, but it is. It's
No, I
just
agree.
because it's not. It's very all generic. It's all generic advice in these courses. I've been privy enough to see inside some of them. Is privy even the right word? I
Yeah.
don't know who
Yeah.
else. But I've seen some of them, and it's very very generic digital marketing. But
I think it
also,
would have to be.
it's all stuff that's free on Google.
And this is it.
And it's only tailored towards them reselling the course. So you're not actually really learning how to be a digital marketer.
You're learning
how to sell a course. And usually you can sell that same course on that you're doing.
Yeah.
So
it literally is like Avon.
Yeah, it just doesn't, as somebody that's been in the space for a long time and done training and lots of courses to get the knowledge and the experience that I have, just doesn't sit right.
No, I'm completely with you. I see so many email ones like, 52 subject lines guaranteed to convert across any business. And I'm like, well, no, that's not how it works. That is not the case. And it's got to be so unique. And you're just pushing people straight into spam. And yeah, no, it grinds my gears.
And they're all written by ChatGPT.
Yeah, they are.
And you can see it as well.
You can spot it a mile off.
I think certain things of AI are really good for like helping with structure.
Yes.
The words, not so much.
I do use it. I use it every day and I use it for all sorts. Like say for planning, if I say, here's all my content ideas, can you help me organize them? And can you help me fill these out? And, I do use it and I have no shame in saying that, but have I asked it to write me an entire business plan and I've just followed it blindly? No. It's good at, I'm doing a grant fund application at the minute, and they were asking a lot of things about things like forecasts and nets, this and that, and gross, and that is just not my area of expertise. So I was using it for definitions and support there. But yeah, I do think it has gone far, but equally a lot of us can spot it now. So I think we're kind of going back, which is good.
Yeah, that you would not take away from a traditional copyright.
No. No. So if I had, for an example, say I get this grant and I get given £1,000 to spend purely on marketing as a service base, I understand it's going to be different for everyone, but where is it that you would put it? If you had let's stick with a hair salon, where is it that you would say that's a very, very tight budget? Here's what I would do.
I would train so you could learn to do some elements yourself.
I love that.
It's not a lot of money when it comes to marketing. It's a lot of money, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but for marketing, it's not.
But for marketing, it's not in terms of like an ad budget. If you don't know what you're doing with £1,000 of an ad budget, or even a couple of £100, you'll leap straight through it and you won't get any benefit from it.
Yeah.
And learn how to do it.
I love that.
Because then when you do get more money, you can do it. Do some social media training or work with somebody that's able to give you a strategy.
Yes. I think there's a lot of people doing that now. Social Moody, Bethany Moody, she does a lot of training courses, and I don't think they're £1,000. I would suspect they're significantly higher. She's very successful, but it is that kind of style. And do you know what? I never would have expected you to say that. I think that's actually so true.
I just listen. I like everybody that works with me to walk away with some added knowledge and some added value to their business.
Yes.
And whilst, yes, I can do your social media, yes, I can do your ads, yes, I can build your website. If it's not helping towards your why, but also it's not something you can maintain consistently, that's not me helping you. And that's why I went into being self-employed and doing it for smaller businesses. Was because
and they get left. The small businesses get completely forgotten about. I'm very similar with the emails. Let me teach you and I'll do the bits that you find really difficult, but like I say, let's work together rather than paying thousands and handing it off, because people I don't have that budget, so I know other small businesses don't.
Like the bigger end, the higher end of the small small business market.
Yeah.
Like obviously they just want to outsource it. They've probably got a marketing person in their business, or their
Yeah.
business is a lot more established. But they wouldn't have that. They'd be spending more than £1,000 on marketing anyway.
Yeah.
Like obviously I approach that differently
Yes.
because they are looking to outsource, and I will offer them a full service agency package with whatever they need in it. But
Yeah.
for the micro businesses, small one-man bands, the founders, startups,
Yeah.
it's learn as much as you can. So if you need to step in and
You
do
can.
it yourself, you can. But also, as you grow and as you get bigger, you can understand what's going on when you're outsourcing.
Yes.
Because I saw, and I really can't remember the woman's name. She has a fashion brand and she does a lot of underled content on TikTok herself. I want to say Sydney Lane. I
Yeah,
don't know
Sydney
if I've
Lane,
got
yeah.
that or not. Is it Sean?
I honestly can't remember her
I
name, but I
can't
know the
remember her name,
brand.
but I love her content. And I think she was on an ad call with an agency, and they said something about ROAS. And to most people,
No
no
idea.
one would know what that means. And she did ask, but not everybody has got the goals to ask
No.
in these conversations because they feel like they should know. So I think, yeah, if you've got a brand, I'm learning.
Do
Learning
you know,
stuff
that's
like
so
that,
true.
especially when you're starting out, because then
Yeah.
you know what's going on in the room, even when you're not the person that's doing it.
Even if you're not the
Because you've got
expert.
to be able to trust it.
This is the hardest thing. I had a call with someone the other day. It was a discovery call, and they were saying, I don't know what, and very similarly, they had the confidence to say, I don't know what that means. You know, you're saying all these wonderful things, but how do I know that any of it is what I need? And, you know, I sat down and we took time. We actually spent ages on the call working through everything together so that they understood fully. I showed them what I do with my actual clients, you know, and that is so true. Like you say, that if I was to hire someone now to do paid ads, would I have a clue what they were talking about? No, I'd have no idea. And that's terrifying to spend that kind of money and not know what they're doing or if it's working.
It
Yeah.
is. It is.
Do you find kind of when you're either client searching or within the world in general and networking, I love that you have your own networking space, that there's still this female prejudice, or do you think that you find that you work differently, not necessarily harder, we're not causing drama, but differently to, say, a male-led startup?
I definitely see prejudice still. I don't think that's going to go away. I just think live your story. Just carry on. Like I don't necessarily see. Well, I'm trying to think of how to word this.
Without getting yourself in trouble.
I don't necessarily, when I'm like talking to people and talking to businesses, I don't necessarily I see it from like a male female perspective. So I still approach everybody the same.
That's interesting.
Especially like you, like a couple of months in, I'm like, I wouldn't necessarily call one of my my male clients, like, oh, hey, lovely, or hey, babe, when I email. But when it's like first impressions, I do notice a bit of prejudice. But I
Yeah.
think it's just not going to change. It fortunately, how the world works. I just think that that's person. It's not for me, or that client's not for me.
Yeah, and I think there's a thing about, I think, a mature entrepreneur, not necessarily in age, but in just your emotional capacity to say, well, actually, that's okay. Like, say you're just not the ideal client. I've had people say, yeah, do you know what? I actually just don't. I think you're too young, or I don't like that you're too girly. I don't enjoy that your laptop's pink. Okay, that's fine. The colour of my laptop does not have anything to do with my ability to do this job, other than the fact that I look at it for like 18 hours a day and I enjoy the colour pink. But if that's your perspective, then that is fine.
I think it's just, otherwise you get caught up and it's just another drain on energy that you don't need because you've got a million and one other things to do. You've got, I think for every one person that's like that, there's probably like 10 other clients out there that are right for you. So it's time to move on. It's like that. Is it that? I think there's a saying where you like, if you knew that you only had like 10 no's left before you got your yes or something, I don't know the exact wording for it, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, no, I love that. And so, talking about your dream client, who, if, you know, there's a business owner listening to this, and who is it that you want to go, yes, do you know what? Brand Lab is exactly the right place for me. Who is that perfect dream client for you?
So it is somebody that wants to learn and wants to grow with their business.
Yeah.
And wants to really drive into a strategic approach of building their business and marketing their business in a way that aligns with their background.
Love that. And do you work with brands across the country, or are you fairly sort of central around where you're located in Grantham?
So I'm fairly centrally located. I
Okay.
do have some that are sort of dotted about, but not
Yeah.
masses.
I do think that there's something really nice about working with local brands. I've travelled all up and down the country, but it's the brands that are local that I build the best connections with.
I can come to meet you for coffee, or I can come to the studio, or I can just like pop in.
Yeah.
Like it is nice. I do actually do quite a lot of content, so
Definitely need to be closer.
it's easier when it's closer. Although I do travel, but
Yes, 100%.
yeah.
So I'd love to kind of finish off with 2 questions that I've not prepared you for, so apologies. I'm very sneaky. One's really easy. One you might need to think a little bit about. So we'll go with the easy one. In fact, do you want to go easy or hard?
Hard, get out of the way.
Hard first, get out of the way. Okay. So if you were kind of talking to new entrepreneurs, say someone came to you and said, I've got this business idea and it's almost identical to your business, and you're like, yes, go get them, go, because there's enough people in the world for all of us to have our businesses. What is one thing that you didn't know when you started that you kind of feel a bit embarrassed that you should have known, or that you feel you should have known and you would really want to say, this is the thing that you should know? For me, I mean, I've come up with actually loads of these. It's actually embarrassing how much I didn't know. For me, it was I didn't know how tax and accounting worked, and I got hit with a £5,000 bill this year. So yeah, that was my life lesson, and that stung a little bit.
So I actually had a conversation with a young lady the other day.
No way.
Very, very similar to that, because yeah, I'm all for the, like, I don't care whether you're doing the same services, like there's enough for everybody. We talked about an account. Sort your accounting out,
Yeah.
and also learn as much as you can while you're still like getting experience.
Yeah.
And work with other business owners. I think especially from a marketing perspective, you learn a lot about businesses and how businesses operate, because obviously
Yes.
doing their marketing, you get quite into
you need to know everything.
You need to know a lot about what's going on with the business, like absorb it. I think especially as like a baby, marketing should be like a sponge.
Yes, I agree. And I also think just ask the questions, because most people really don't mind, not even necessarily just marketers, but I worked for a big fintech company for 2.5 years. And, a lot they'd say, can you do this? I said, well, actually, I really don't know. Can you tell me a bit more about it, see if I can learn it? Or I think a lot of the times, and again, it comes back to that if they're a bit arsy about it, they're probably not for you. But just saying, actually, do you know what? I'm not sure. Leave it with me. Let me see if I can either outsource or let's have a conversation about it. Yeah. I do think accounting is up there, though. Accounting we should have to learn that in school.
It still baffles me that we don't.
I die on that hill.
I did it as part of my degree, a little bit of it.
That's handy.
An element.
Do I did a business master's and I still didn't learn anything about it.
Oh, see, I did a business and business management.
Yeah.
Bachelor's. And
you did.
But I could choose it. I was doing it with uni, so I got to choose some of the modules.
Yeah.
And I thought, right, finance is something I need to learn about, but financial accounting is not for me.
I'm so much better creative ways.
But it's good to be able to understand numbers when they're presented to you.
And I think that ties back into what you were saying about learning what's happening. When my accountant sent over my sort of end of year tax form thing, again, I don't even know what it's called, I had to send it off to a friend of mine. So I was like, I don't know what I'm looking at. Can you come and sit with me? Because I don't know what any of this means. There's just a whole lot of numbers. And I've spent a lot of time this year, and I will not get caught out learning and trying to understand my own tax. Yeah, I think it's a minefield.
It is an absolute minefield. You have to, I think anything that's got any legality or anything that's got any regulation behind it, always speak to an expert.
Yeah, don't try and cut corners on your accountant.
Yeah, don't try and cut corners with accountant. Don't try and cut corners with HR. Anything that could end up with you being fined or in court, make sure you take
Do it right.
Professional.
Do it right first time.
Do it right first time. I'll try anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think we can do it right first time, but we'll try.
Yeah. So my final question was super easy, and I've seen that you have a coffee there, so I'm really hoping that you actually like coffee, because everyone I asked this to doesn't. If I was to pop in with your dream iced or hot drink, what would it be?
Oh, it would be mocha or coffee.
Nice. I love that. The amount of people have gone, yeah, I don't drink coffee. I'm like, What's happening to the world?
No, I do love a coffee
Yeah, me too.
every day.
In fact, when the sun's come out, I'm like, oh, now it's time for iced. My freezer's full of ice.
I don't do ice because I don't really do like heavy enough.
That makes sense.
But I do like a normal black coffee, or maybe like a little mocha or
Yeah, I like a mocha. I'm not a black coffee person. I feel like that's a real grown-up drink, and I'm just not there yet.
So the reason why I started liking black coffee was because I lived in Italy for a couple of years. And it was kind of like it was like milk.
Yes.
In coffee past 11 a.m.
Yeah, there's a weird. It's like you can't have a cappuccino past 11, can you?
Yeah.
So weird. We went to France for New Year's and I ordered a latte, and I don't know what time of night it was, and even they were a bit perturbed by it. I was like, oh, sorry, I'm British, sorry.
Yeah, and they don't really do like things quite different, but latte is just milk in Italian. So the amount of friends I come over and they'd be in the cafe. And then we going to meet them, and they're like, get there, and they've got a glass of milk.
Yes, I did make that mistake actually. I was in Milan, I asked for a latte and did get a glass of milk. I was like, you appear to have forgotten the coffee. Oh, language barriers.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this has been amazing. And I feel like I've learned a lot, and hopefully you feel like it's been useful for you as well. So thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I'm sure a lot of people are going to really enjoy this. And I can't believe you're so close. I'll have to make an appointment to come down and see you. We've still got family in Grantham, so I end up popping over every other month or so. But yes, thank you so much, and we will speak to you soon.
I'll speak to you soon.
Take care.